Petronia. The vampire who ruled like Rome never fell. What happens to a predator forged in the blood-soaked sand of Rome when the world forgets how to worship power? We begin not in darkness, but in fire. Petronia is standing at the edge of a burning estate in the modern world, her beauty untouched by time, her eyes colder than the marble statues that once lined her Roman villa. Beside her stands Thorne, confused by the weight of immortality. Behind her, Marius, stoic and watchful. But Petronia doesn't look back. She never does, because for her, eternity has always been forward. The empire fell, but she never did. And that's what makes her terrifying. Petronia is not remembered because she was loud. She's remembered because when she spoke, empires trembled. Born into the Roman world, wealth, power, brutality, she thrived not in the Colosseum, but in the corridors behind it. She wasn't a gladiator. She owned them. She was turned during the height of Rome, a time when cruelty wasn't a vice. It was governance. Therefore, her sense of order, of dominance, of discipline, it wasn't monstrous. It was Roman. But then, time changed. Rome fell, and she did not. The vampire who made her is never named, not clearly, as if even memory fears her. We know she was old when Marius was still learning what eternity meant. Older than pride, older than guilt, and far more dangerous than either. Petronia didn't survive by hiding. She survived by adapting power to the times. When men stopped fearing swords, she learned how to use silence. When others sought redemption, she perfected strategy. And when the old gods faded, she became one of her own. Now let's address the myth. Was Petronia a gladiator? Gladiators were her currency, her language, her battlefield. She didn't fight in the arena. She stood in the stands and decided who would live or die. The world talks of vampires with swords and cloaks. Petronia fought differently, with politics, with punishments, with the kind of cruelty you call justice, if you're the one holding the whip. Therefore, she was shaped by the violence of her time, but then she sharpened it into something colder, calculated dominance. Imagine the precision of Roman discipline infused into an immortal, a being who never questioned authority because she always was it. This is what sets her apart from the romantic tragedies like Louis or the exuberant chaos of Lestat. Petronia doesn't feel, she commands. She doesn't regret, she recalculates. In Blood and Gold, we meet her again, not as a relic, but as a tactician. Thorne, a Norse vampire buried in snow for 1,000 years, rises in a world he barely recognizes. He finds her, or perhaps she finds him. And what does she offer him? Not kindness, not guidance. She offers strategy. Because Petronia understands, when the world shifts, ancient power must realign. She joins Marius and Thorne not as a follower, but as a peer, an equal, an ancient. Therefore, this alliance isn't friendship, it's survival. But then the question becomes, what does Petronia truly want? Not peace. That much is clear. She doesn't trust the new world. She doesn't mourn the old. She simply positions herself to rule whatever comes next. Unlike many of Rice's vampires, tortured, theatrical, poetic, Petronia feels surgical. And that's the point. Rice gave us vampires who weep, who sing, who suffer. Petronia? She calculates, because not all monsters are born from loss. Some are born from order, and order never apologizes. Yet there's something compelling beneath that mask of marble. Not warmth, Not humanity, but clarity. In a world where even the oldest immortals spiral into madness or regret, Petronia stands, straight-backed and unblinking. She is the stillness in the storm, and that stillness frightens even the wind. Petronia is not just a character, she's a metaphor. She is what happens when Rome refuses to die. When men worshipped conquest, she rose with them. When they collapsed beneath the weight of their ambition, she remained. She doesn't care if the world calls her cruel. Rome called her necessary. Therefore, she became an echo of empire, immortal, unyielding, precise. But then time turned that echo into something more terrifying. A ghost that doesn't haunt, it governs. She represents the question, what happens when power lives too long? Here's where Petronia's story intersects brilliantly with Marius. He too is ancient. He too watched Rome rise and fall. But Marius questions. He feels. He mourns Akasha. He struggles with his role as keeper of the twins. Petronia? She never asks why, only how. And that's why they work so well, and why they clash so sharply. Marius wants meaning. Petronia wants leverage. He protects sacred knowledge. She uses it. In a different world, he might have tried to reform Rome. She would have rebuilt it. Taller, darker, and ruled by silence. Most vampire pairs in the Vampire Chronicles burn with passion or tragedy. Louis and Lestat, Claudia and Madeleine, Armand and Daniel, Petronia and Thorne. They burn with something colder, alignment. Thorne is raw. He's just awoken after centuries of self-imposed sleep. He's powerful, but lost. And Petronia sees that. Therefore, she doesn't offer him comfort. She offers him purpose. Not out of kindness, but because she knows how to use a weapon. Is it manipulation? Perhaps. Is it leadership? Also, yes. Their bond is one of strategy, where affection is measured in usefulness. And in the world Petronia sees coming, that might be the only kind that survives. So here we are. The world has changed. Empires have fallen. Digital kingdoms rise, the old bloodlines scatter. Therefore, one would expect the ancients to wither. But then you remember Petronia, still watching, still silent, still dangerous. She's not nostalgic for the past. She's waiting to see who stumbles first in the future. Because power doesn't mourn, it plans. Petronia is the answer to a question you didn't know you were asking. What if immortality isn't tragedy or ecstasy, but precision? She doesn't seduce you with sorrow or songs. She doesn't beg to be understood. She doesn't want your sympathy. She wants control. And if you ever feel the air grow still, the silence tighten, the world pause around you, it may not be fear. It may be Petronia. Watching, waiting, because maybe the empire didn't fall after all. Maybe it just changed its name. What do you think Petronia truly desires? Control, survival, or something darker?